So now we'll see the next dividend model. That is again it's related to the relevance theory. That is Gordon model. As per the Walters model as well as the Gordon's model, the assumptions are more or less same. Only the internal financing R and K are constant, all equity form, then perpetual earnings, no taxes, constant retention, and K is greater than growth rate. So these are all the assumptions. Based on that the Gordon model is developed, and this is the formula used to find out the what you call as the price of the share using Gordon model. That is P0 equal to EPS into 1 minus B divided by K minus BR. EPS is nothing but earnings per share, and B is the retention ratio. So retention ratio, how we calculate is 1 minus payout ratio will give you the retention ratio. That is whatever the earnings the company receives from that, whatever paid, that is after payout ratio, the balance will be the retention ratio. So payout ratio may be 1 minus retention ratio, or retention ratio equal to 1 minus the payout ratio. So then K is nothing but the required rate of return, or what do you call as the cost of capital, or the capitalization rate, discount rate, or yield to maturity. These are all the different names for cost of capital, or K, or required rate of return. And R is the same thing what we have seen in the Walters model, the same. It is nothing but the rate of return, or internal rate of return, or productivity of retained earnings. These are all the different names that is used for R. So now the same assumptions, what the Walter has given the same year. When R is greater than K, it's a growth form, and optimum payout ratio is 0%. When R equal to K, this optimum payout ratio is not applicable. Whereas when R less than K, that is declining form, that is optimum payout ratio is 100. So now let's calculate some of the problems in Gordon model. So this is a problem. Now you just will check this illustration. Assuming the cost of equity is 11%, that is K is given. Cost of equity or cost of capital is given 11%. Rate of return on investment is 12%. That is R is given as 12%. And the earnings per share is 15. Calculate the price per share by Gordon model if the dividend payout ratio is 10% and 30%. So now under the dividend payout ratio of 10% as well as the 30%, let us calculate what you call it as the price of the share using Gordon model. And this is the formula for Gordon model. P equal to EPS into 1 minus B divided by K minus BR. Okay. So now the price of the share, P means like price of the share, E means earnings per share, P is retention ratio, R is return on investment, or what we can say is internal rate of return, all these things. Then K means cost of equity capital. So normally it is K means cost of capital. Here, since it is given in the name of cost of equity, we use KE, cost of equity capital. And BR is nothing but the growth rate. So here B is the retention ratio, R is the what we call as the rate of return. Now, when dividend payout ratio is 10%, in that case, what is the share price? That is what we are going to find out. So now, when dividend payout ratio is 10%, what that means is the retention ratio will be 90%. So which means retention ratio, how to calculate? Because to calculate Gordon model, we require retention ratio. We are not supposed to use payout ratio. We have to use this B, that is retention ratio. Now, retention ratio is 1 minus payout ratio. Then now, here the payout ratio is 10%, which means 0.10. So 1 minus 0.10 is 0.90. That is 90% retention. Now all these values will be applied in this formula. Now E into 1 minus B. E is nothing but earnings per share, that is given in the problem as 15. So 15 multiplied with 1 minus B value. Retention is 0.90. That is mentioned here, divided by KE. K is 11%. 11% means 0.11 minus B into R. B is 0.90 into R. R is 0.12. When you simplify this one, you will be getting 750 rupees. So when dividend payout ratio is 10%, what it means is 90% they are retaining. In that case, the share price of the company is 750 rupees. Whereas if the dividend payout ratio is 30%, the same thing. So in that case, 15 into 1 minus, here retention will be 70%, because when they are paying 30% as a dividend, balance 70% they are retaining. B will be 0.70, that is 7.70, that is mentioned here, divided by K. K is 0.11 minus B into R, 0.70 into 0.12. So when you simplify all these things, you will be getting 173.08. So now we can see the difference, drastic change in the share price of the company when there is a change in the retention ratio. and as well as the dividend payout ratio. So as per the Gordon rule is concerned, so this is the rule we remember when R greater than K, R equal to K and R less than K. As per this problem, R is 12 and K is 11%, which means R is greater than K. R is greater than K, which means it's a growth firm. The optimum payout ratio should be 0. But see this, that is proved here. So when retention ratio is 90%, when payout ratio is 10%, the share price you can see here 750. Whereas when payout increases, the share price decreases. So the more and more they pay the dividend, the share price gets decreases. Whereas if they pay 0% as a dividend, what will happen to the share price of this company? This particular thing is this EPS 15 will be the same into 1 minus retention ratio is it will become 100%. Retention ratio will become 100%. So in that case, the share price will be a different one. So that is why, since it is a growth firm, the company should follow an optimum payout ratio of 0% so that the share price will get the maximum value. So that is what proved here. So again, the relevance theory is proved here. So dividend decision has an impact on the share price of the company. So the next we'll see this problem. This is again, we can check here. The following data is available about XYZ Limited. EPS is given as rupees 5. Required rate of return, that is the what you call as the K value is given. So EPS is given as rupees 5. Then required rate of return, that is required rate of return is nothing but K value. K equal to 16%. 16 is nothing but point, that is nothing but 0.16. 16 by 100 means 0.16. Assume Gordon model. We are supposed to use Gordon model. Find the price of the share. Price of the share we have to find out if the dividend payout ratio. So the dividend payout ratio is given. Dividend payout ratio equal to 40%. 40% is nothing but 0.40. The next one is internal rate of return, which means R value is given. R equal to 20%. 20% means 0.20. So now these are all the values that are given in the problem. We are supposed to use Gordon model. So Gordon model, this is the formula. Let us just copy this formula. This is the formula which is used to find out what you call as the share price of the firm using Gordon model. So now when you just check this formula, what are the data available? EPS. EPS is given. EPS is 5. Instead of EPS, let us mention 5 into 1 minus B. B is nothing but retention ratio. Since dividend payout ratio, we have to find out B. B, how to find out is B equal to 1 minus dividend payout ratio. So that is equal to 1 minus the dividend payout ratio is 0.40. That is equal to 0.60. So the dividend payout ratio, since it is 40, the balance 60% is retention ratio. So instead of B, 0.60 divided by K minus BR. K is nothing but 0.16 that is given in the problem into B multiplied with R. B is 0.60 multiplied with R. R value is 20. 20% means 0.20. So now we need to simplify this one. After mentioning this one, we need to simplify. How we can simplify is just we can multiply. 5 we can keep as it is. 1 minus 0.60 is 0.40. We can mention here. Then divided by 0.6 we can keep as it is. 0.60 multiplied with 0.20. So the value comes around 0.60 multiplied with 0.20. The value is 0.12. So 0.12. So now we have received the values. Now what we can do is we can simplify further. 5 into 0.40. 5 multiplied with 0.40. The value comes as 2. The numerator value is 2 here now. Divided by 0.16 minus 0.12. So 0.16 minus 0.12. So which means 0.04. So the denominator value is 0.04. Now we need to divide these two. Once if you divide, you will be getting the value of 2 divided by 0.4, 0.04, which means 50 rupees. The share price is equal to rupees 50. Okay, as per this problem, the share price of the company is rupees 50. They are following a dividend payment of 40% and retention of 60. So according to the Walter and Gordon rule, what type of company this one is? R is greater than K. So R value is greater than K. So which means it's a growth firm. They are supposed to follow 0% is the optimum dividend payout policy to maximize their share price, but they are following 40% dividend payment. So if they, according to this rule, if they go with 0% of dividend payment, this share price can be increased further. Next, this is again another type of problem that is given here. So this is again related to the Gordon model. So once if you check here, what are the data given? EPS is given, EPS 10 is given, then rate of return 20% and required rate of return 16% is given. Now what we have to find out is, find out the market price of share under Gordon model if the firm follows a dividend payout of 50%. So now we'll take up the same formula which we have used already. So this is the formula which is used to find out the Gordon model. According to the Gordon model, the share price. So what we can do is we can insert the formula here. So now we'll fill up whatever the data that is given in the problem. So in the problem, EPS is given. So this is nothing but 0.20 and this is 0.16. So now we'll we'll use all the values. So EPS is 10. Instead of EPS, I'm going to use 10. And instead of B value, B is, see here dividend payout ratio is 50% is given. So when dividend payout ratio is 50%, how to calculate retention ratio? Retention ratio is 1 minus payout ratio. 1 minus dividend payout ratio equal to retention ratio. That is 1 minus 0.50. That is equal to 0.50. Dividend payment also 50% and retention also 50%. Then rate of return R is 20.20 and required rate of return K is 0.16. So now we can substitute all the values in this formula. 1 minus retention ratio is 0.50 divided by K. K is 0.16 multiplied with B into R. B is 0.50 multiplied with R. R is 0.20. The rate of return is 0.20. Now we need to simplify. So this 10 we can keep as it is. 1 minus 0.50 is 0.50 divided by this 0.16 we can keep as it is. 0.50 multiplied with what you call it as 0.20. We'll multiply with those two values first. 0.50 multiplied with 0.20. So you'll be getting 0.1. So 0.1, this value is nothing but 0.1. Now we'll simplify. 10 multiplied with 0.5. 10 multiplied with 0.5, that is 5. Okay, the half of the value is 5 divided by 0.16 minus 0.1. So 0.16 minus 0.1. The value is 0.06. 0.06. Now if you divide these two, we will be getting the share price. So 5 divided by 0.06, the value is 83.3. The share price is rupees 83.33. This is how we can calculate. And as per the rule again, this is a growth firm because R greater than K. So the company should have followed optimum payout ratio of 0, but they have paid 50% dividend. Okay, this is what you call as a Gordon model. The next thing is what we can do is, this is again the same type of problem. Here, the internal rate of return 15% given, retention ratio 50, the required rate of return is 10, then EPS is given 1.5. So again, Gordon model we have to use. What shall happen to the price of the share? if the retention is 20%. That is, when retention is 50, what is the value of the share price we have to find out? And when retention is 20, what is the share price we are supposed to find out? So now we'll calculate what is the value given in the problem. We'll see EPS is 1.5 given, that we can mention. Then internal rate of return, which means R value is given as 15%. 15% means 0.15. The next retention ratio B equal to 0.50. 50% means 0.50. The next one is this is R. The next one is the required rate of return K equal to 10% means 0.10. Then we have to find out the value of the share price using Gordon model. So the same formula which we have used in the last class, the last problem, we can use here. So now the same formula, just we'll insert the values in this particular formula. So EPS into 1 minus B divided by K minus BR. Now instead of EPS, I'll just mention 1.5. And instead of B, 1 minus B, B value is 0.50, that I'll mention, divided by K minus BR. K is 0.10 minus B into R. B is 0.50 multiplied with R. R value is 0.15. Now we need to simplify as per the previous problems. We'll keep 1.5 as it is. 1 minus 0.5 is again 0.50 divided by this 0.10 will keep as it is. 0.50 multiplied with 0.15. 0.50 multiplied with 0.15. The value is 0.075. 0.075. This is the value. Now we'll simplify again. We'll multiply the numerator value. 1.5 multiplied with 1.5 multiplied with 0.50. The value is 0.75. 0.75, the numerator value. Denominator value, we need to subtract these two. 0.10, 0.10 minus 0.075. The value is 0.025. So now we need to divide these two. So that is 0.75 divided by 0.025. So the value comes around 30 rupees. The share price as per this problem is rupees 30. So that is when retention ratio is 50%, the share price of the company is rupees 30. Now they have asked one more question in this problem, that is if retention ratio is 20%, what will happen to the share price? So now we'll change this retention ratio as 20%, that is 0.20. So then we'll check what will happen to the share price of this particular company. So the same formula we'll use. The formula we can use the same, whereas the remaining K, R and all other values remains constant here. So now in this we'll substitute the values. EPS is same 1.5. 1 minus B, 1 minus 0.20 means 0.80 divided by K. K is 0.10. B into R. B into R is B value is 0.20 multiplied with R value 0.15. So now we'll simplify this again. So 1.5 multiplied with 0.80. So the numerator value becomes 1.2 divided by the denominator. The denominator is 0.10. So before that we'll multiply these two. 0.20 multiplied with 0.15. The value comes around 0.03. So now 0.10 minus 0.03. So we will subtract these two. The value comes around 0.10 minus 0.03. The value is 0.07. The denominator value is 0.07. Now we'll divide these two. 1.2 divided by 0.07. The value is 17.14 rupees, 17.14. So the share price has decreased. The share price has decreased. Why? Because as per the first option, the retention ratio is 50. So which means payout also 50. But in the second case, retention is only 20, which means 80% they have paid as a dividend. So which means you can see here, as per this is a growth firm, R is greater than K. The optimum payout ratio should be 0%. But since they have paid more dividend, the share price is declining. Again, the dividend relevance theory is proved as per this particular problem is concerned. So now again, this is proved with the help of this problem also. This is again an example of what you call as the Gordon's model formula, and as well as the problems. Here under different proportion it has been calculated. When you see here, the following information is available in respect to the rate of return on investment, cost of capital, and earnings per share of X Limited. So here, rate of return on investment, R value is given 15, 10, and 8. Three different rate of return on investment, R value is given. Whereas cost of capital is same, 10%. EPS 10%. Determine the value of the share assuming the following dividend payout ratio as well as retention ratio. That is, when dividend payout ratio is 100, retention ratio is 0. So obviously, like when the entire earnings is paid as a dividend, then the retention is 0. Similarly, when dividend payout ratio is 80, retention is 20, the balance. Here, when dividend is 70, the balance 60. So the different situations it is given here. So now, if you see this particular problem, or what you call as the answers for this one, so we can check here. So what is given is we'll calculate under three different what you call as R values. When R is 15% and K remains same 10%. E is also same 10%. Sorry, 10 rupees. Then here the second condition is R equal to K. That is 0.10 and K also 0.10 and EPS is 10. Third one is R value is 0.08, that is the declining form, R less than K. Then K value is 0.10 and EPS is 10. So this is what they have applied in this formula, and you can see here when B is 0. So this is the condition they have used here, the first condition. So the first thing what they have noted down is under three different conditions of R they are calculating. One is when R greater than K, R equal to K, and R less than K. In R greater than K itself, different B values. That is when B equal to 0. So what is given in the problem they are using here, when B equal to 0, when B equal to 20%, B 30, B 50%, B 65%. So when B is 0, then the share price is 100. So when they have applied in the Gordon's formula, the share price is 100. When B is 20%, then the share price is 114. When B is 30, the share price is 127. When B is 50%, the share price is 200. When B is 65, the share price is 1750. So the more and more retained earnings increases, so which means automatically the dividend payment decreases as per the growth form is concerned. That is why the share price is increasing. Whereas when R equal to K, whatever may be the retention, the share price remains same because R value and K value is same here. Whereas in the declining form, as per the declining form, 100% dividend payment will give what is called as more share price. So which means you can see here when retention is 0, which means they have given more what is called as the dividend. 100% they have given dividend. At that time, the share price you can see here 100. Whereas when they increase the retention to 20, which means only 80% is given as a dividend. So which means the share price decreases to 95. Like that, the more the retention increases, which means the payout decreases, but the share price is also decreases. So this is proved again that both Walter and Gordon model have proved that dividend relevance theory, which means the dividend decision of the firm has an impact on the share price.